How's it going, guys, and welcome to Game Evolved. I'm Shifty Cow, and in today's video we're going to be talking about the future of weapon balance for Battlefield 4. So if you do go on to enjoy the video, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe for more awesome gaming content. So if you've been on CTE recently, or you've just been paying attention to news within the Battlefield community, you know that they've been adjusting gun balance and the way the game plays out in CTE, and for the most part it goes something like this. Assault rifles are going to become less accurate with a bit more spread at range, and they're also going to receive a little more recoil, so that way you have to have a bit more skill to control them. PDWs, on the other hand, are pretty much the opposite of this, having a little less spread so that way they're more usable, and that way the engineer is more likely to choose that over something like a carbine. And then the DMRs are also going to be receiving a little less accuracy at range. That way, if you're using it as an assault player or an engineer, you're not going to be able to compete as well with snipers at longer ranges. So that's pretty much basically what they're going to be doing for gun balance. And obviously there's going to be some custom things that they're doing for individual guns in terms of balance. And these changes are expected to launch sometime in the spring, and it's going to be part of a big patch similar to the fall and winter patch. So ever since the fall patch, DICE has been trying to kind of reel back the power of the assault class because it is the most played class. Like, if you hop into a round of Battlefield, chances are that most of them are all going to be assault players, and there's a reason for that, because if you throw in a class that has an assault rifle that performs well at pretty much any range other than extremely long ranges, and you give it a medic bag and defibrillators or a grenade launcher or something like that, that's going to be the most popular class by far. You've got the most versatility, you can heal yourself, and you don't have to worry about teammates giving you med bags. Really, the only thing I agree with in this patch is that the engineers should get a bit more power with the submachine guns, because especially coming from Hardline where you have things like the K10 and the P90, those things are absolute beasts at close range, and they put down people incredibly quickly. So coming back to this and having a PDW that takes the same amount of bullets at a similar fire rate to kill as an assault rifle, it's really tough to see why you'd want to use this over something like the ACR as a carbine. Now, keep in mind there's still several months before they actually release this patch, so chances are it's going to be a lot different than what CTE is right now, because obviously that's the whole point of CTE, is to make little adjustments, see what works, what doesn't, and what to put in a final patch. So in terms of class balance, I really don't think there should be any more changes other than slightly increasing the power of the PDWs, because that's really the only thing you don't see people using on the battlefield all that often unless it's really close range or there's a lot of vehicles and they just decide to like screw around with it, because really there's no reason to use these over a carbine that has a fast fire rate. In terms of individual gun balance, like the AEK, they're trying to chop down power so that way it's not quite a top tier weapon, it's still usable, but that way people who are using lesser weapons still have a chance at taking you out, and I really don't think this is necessary, because in pretty much any video game where you have a large amount of weapons, like Battlefield 4 has over 100 different weapons, and they're adding even more with the Weapon Crate DLC, so I really think if they're going to make these adjustments, it's overall just going to be a waste of time, because you're always going to have weapons that are going to rise to the top for being the most versatile, best at close range, best at long range, and then off to the side you have all these mediocre weapons that really aren't anything special, they're not top tier, they don't have the best stats, but they're something that people who have put a lot of time into this game and are kind of getting bored of just going ham with top tier weapons can gravitate over towards, use that for a little bit, unlock things, and really it's a really nice balance of having the people who really want to do well or kind of beginners to using the top tier weapons, and then people kind of exploring other weapons that they have that aren't the best but they're still usable, and I really enjoy how this works in Battlefield 4. Ever since we started this channel, we've been doing loadouts for Battlefield 4, and there's still countless loadouts that we could pick from because there's just that many different weapon combinations, and although they're not the best and they're not the most balanced, you can still play with them and have a pretty decent time. So I think if they were to just leave the gun balance alone for the most part, maybe increase the power of the SMGs, we would have a really nice game, and overall, if it's not broken, don't fix it. Now, the last thing I wanted to touch on in this video is what they're going to be doing with the suppression system. Now, personally, I'm not that big of a fan of suppression just because it adds a lot of randomness, and it really rewards players for missing their shots when that's kind of just defeating the purpose. But anyways, coming into Battlefield 4, they're going to be trying to add in a dynamic suppression system. So basically, if you have a machine gun and you're pretty far away and you're trying to shoot someone, that's really where the suppression is going to do its best. At closer ranges with, I don't know, PDWs or things like that, that's not going to have nearly the effect that it's going to be having at longer ranges with more heavy rifles. So I really like this idea because it sounds like there's not going to be nearly as much suppression as there normally is in Battlefield 4, and when it comes to ranged engagements, you really have a lot more time to think about what to do rather than at close range when you're suppressed, you can't hit your shots, and it lets you think a lot more about what to do when you're being suppressed, and that way you can actually have a chance of surviving rather than just blaming the entire thing on suppression, which personally I've never had a moment in Battlefield 4 where I just kind of get killed and I'm like, the suppression killed me. That never really happened to me, so I think the suppression system's pretty okay where it is right now. I don't really mind it, and I think if they make some changes it could definitely get better, but I don't really care too much. So that's pretty much it for this video, guys. As always, if you did enjoy, be sure to leave a like down below and subscribe for more awesome gaming content. If you have any suggestions for videos or a loadout you'd like us to try, you can leave that down in the comments below. Be sure to check out our Twitter, guys, and until next time, stay buttery.